also assaulting towards the objective to at least get it cordoned off. That also allowed us to finally, not get pinned down anymore, because we returned fire north into the city. Understanding the geometry of fire, because also you had the battalion that was also sweeping from east to west, but we just aimed in on that point, keep it suppressed. That allowed the rest of Kilo 1st Platoon to move in, put a couple smalls into the building as well, the burning building. At that point, there was enough pressure where Gordon Neer and his crew, who had another cat element, pushed in and got our casualties out of there. So they immediately, I don't know how they were able to do it. I think they probably made it back to Sabre. They were, I guess, working on cordoning off the city. Saw that we were not in a bad way, but we were taking casualties that need to be medevaced immediately, and Gordon Neer was able to push them, his guys, to push those casualties out. So
just to cover a couple of those points, Lieutenant Autry, is second lieutenant at the time?
Second lieutenant at the time.
But he's prior enlisted?
Prior enlisted, staff NCO.
He was in command of 2nd Platoon.
Correct.
And he had done coordination with Sergeant Arnett, who was the 81 section leader, or what was his billet?
He was he had Cat Blue Alpha. He was the section leader for Cat Blue Alpha.
And did he have some command or some relationship with 81s, the 281s tubes that were at Camp Usapa?
He did. He was already back, and by him being a 41 by nature, Lieutenant Autry and really Lieutenant Fleming made a beeline towards him and said, hey, we need you to, with you guys that are back, we need you to go ahead and can you get the tubes set up? And we had a few guys from Webb's platoon that were sick, because within that first month, we were still going through the normal environmental elements that you get when you go into a third world country. Some of those guys from Webb's platoon had that. They happened to be back and they assisted in it. So really, you had a combination of guys from Cat Blue and Webb's platoon run the gun line. Pretty savvy for a bunch of guys, that were focused on the fight. But it's amazing how Marines, when they see a firefight, they'll do anything they really want to in their way, do whatever they can to help out the situation. If it meant manning the guns, if it meant double manning the posts, which we were doing because we were also taking fire at the posts as relieving as well. Sergeant Annette happened to be there, so he ran the gun line. He ran the gun line, and
so Sergeant Arnett is his MOS is 0341, which is a mortarman.
Correct.
And he coordinated with Lieutenant Autry because they anticipated that they might have some need for the 81 millimeter mortar fire on the target house.
On the target house, yeah, south of the city.
South of the city.
South of the city. It was right as where the train station is. That's the area, the kill area that we had to assault on. Right. I remember Lieutenant Autry comes to me and says, he goes, want to know if I can go ahead and get the tubes dialed in on that particular jet. I said, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, make that happen. That'll work.
So while Lima 3 and Lima 4 are out involved in the fight with Captain Gannon and the other 4 KIA, Lieutenant Autry is taking the initiative to set up for that possible movement towards that target house.
Correct. And that was a time. And the good thing, the interesting thing about that too, that was a time-driven. That thing was definitely that attack wasn't event-driven. It was time-driven. We had to get down there and clear it out because the battalion was getting ready to push from east to west. And the good thing we did, because by the time we finished up, we had pretty much gone on parallel with the battalion. So by the time we finished assaulting through the objective and pushing back towards the firm base at about, I want to say maybe 2300, the cordon was already set in, and Webb's platoon had already made it back. So literally, the battalion was starting to move this way. We were moving southeast, assaulted through, consolidated, got our got our casualties medevaced, and got our detainees. And then as soon as we started to push back, we were literally, battalion was pushing forward, and we were almost falling parallel, or almost in trace with them. So it really synced up really well by the end. Geometry fire was definitely a big thing, but the beauty I think of what we were doing out there, how we were operating internally, the mechanisms for geometry fire was already set in, which is extremely important.
And do you owe the fact that they synchronized and deconflicted geometry fires to the NCO level and junior officer level leadership?
I definitely will attest to that.
Yeah.
Definitely attest to that as well. Major Pfeffler, being the good officer, definitely did talk to us about that. He said, "Hey, watch your fires going north into the city," but the information, me having information pushed down platoon commanders, that information from platoon commanders made it down to the Marines, because the only times that we ever had to fire north into the cities when we actually saw we were taking contact from those particular areas, and we weren't using squad automatic weapons to suppress. We were using precision weapons such as the M16 to fire in there to keep it suppressed. 3-round bursts maybe at the most, but there was no indiscriminate fires going north.
And then the platoon from Kilo Company, Kilo 1, you say that you moved with them through the 440 area up to the point that they could take shots on the target house, and they use rockets.
They use AT4s and use smalls.
AT4s and smalls.
Correct.
And both of those were effective.
They were very effective. I mean, Dave Fleming got his guys right up onto him. I mean, line of sight and everything. Pretty bold, but there was enough suppression with the mortar fire, and second platoon, moving, assaulting towards the objective, and they established a trigger line or limit of advance for them, just maintain suppression, while me along with Kilo 1 were able to push in, get that line of sight, and he said, "Hey, we're gonna put some smalls in there. We're gonna put some AT4s in there," and he did.
So the rocket shots from Kilo 1, from the smalls and the AT4s, were fired at the exact same time that the mortar fire was suppressing the target.
After the mortar ceased, there was still suppression from second platoon with 556 Link and Ball and 203s, and we literally stayed on the opposite side of the street because it was south of route train, and we were on the north side of route train, and just firing away into there. We didn't. If I had a map, basically you saw if this were the house here, you had second platoon here shooting into it after the fire ceased. Key thing was they were still suppressing towards the radio tower and suppressing towards the building.